Okay, so this morning we're going to be looking at clusters and the four C's of Italian family businesses. Um, so what are the four C's? The consortium, the cooperative, Confindustria, and the cluster. These are four C's that help to shape the Italian market and Italian business, and it's some of the reasons why family business is so predominant in Italy. But we have all these structures in other parts of the world, but in particularly they're stronger in Italy. Okay, so what's a consortium? According to the definition, a consortium is an association of two or more individuals, companies, organisations or governments or any combination of these entities with the objective of participating in a common activity or pooling their resources for achieving a common goal. Consortium is a Latin word meaning partnership, association or society, and derives from consors, partner itself, from con, together, and sors, fate, meaning owner of means or camaraderie. Okay, so consortium is a collection of businesses together. Quite often we have a consortium, and it may be businesses in the same area. Yeah, so a consortium is a collection of businesses that might do the same kind of thing. So it's a interesting relationship because between the parties of a consortium, there may be some competition, but there'll also be some cooperation as well. So, consortium is an association, not its own entity. So the consortium itself isn't a business. It's not something that actually has a profit or loss or is independent, but it does control quite a few things in the Italian business. So different types of consortium. You might have a buying consortium where perhaps buyers would join together to increase their purchasing power. So if there's a number of similar buyers in a particular area, they might join together to buy their product. I'll give you an example of that in a second. It may be a producing consortium where producers will get together and maybe they'll increase their economy of scale by sharing production. So rather than every producer produce 10 products, each producer will produce 3 products and then share those products with the other producers. And in that way, all the companies increase their economies of scale. Yeah. There might be a selling consortium where we have a number of companies that will join together. They'll all be independent companies, but they'll join together in order to be able to sell more effectively. They'll use joint marketing. They will align some of their resources to make sure that that's important. In Italy, consortia are responsible for quality. And if you look at, say, in food quality, you look at things like DOP, DOC, DOCG, or IGP, which are the main denominations you find in food and wine. All of those categories are actually controlled by a consortium, by an organisation that has some overriding capability across its members to set standards, to do a deal between those different businesses. So here's an example of a consortium. Chianti Classico is not actually it's not actually a brand. It's a brand, but it's not actually a business. It is a collection of businesses. Here, this winery that's shown is the Antinori winery. I can tell it's Antinori because they always put the red bands around their barrels. So they've got a very old family business, but it's still part of a consortium because Chianti Classico is not just produced by Antinori, but it's produced by many producers, quite often small businesses, and they will control the quality. So what the consortium does, it allows a business that's producing a Chianti wine to mark itself up as Chianti Classico, because that's the actual consortium with the black cockerel there. And so they can act almost like a big business. The other aspect of the consortium here is to control the quality of the DOCG. So it's not just meeting the standards that you could get with the DOC. So if you met the standards as an independent business and conformed to all the requirements and had some external testing done, then you could conform to the DOC. But the DOCG means it's guaranteed, and it's the consortium of Chianti Classico that actually does the control, the control of the customers inside the consortium to enable the system to develop well. Okay. Another consortium you might have heard of is Parmigiano Reggiano, is another consortium. It is not a business in itself. It is an organisation that represents the interests of its members. Yeah, so it is a consortium of dairies, and all the dairies in a specific area of Emilia-Romagna. And so what we actually see is we see this, again, this idea of having a number of smaller businesses able to create a brand which is globally recognised and as a quality standard that's globally recognised, but is actually controlled by quite a number of smaller businesses. Again, this helps the structure of family businesses within the Italian marketplace because of the use of this consortium. Another consortium here, not too far from there, is the consortium of traditional balsamic vinegar of Modena. And again, here we can see this might be Giuseppe Giusti. I'm not sure where the consortium is, but this where the actual Acciaieria is the actual vinegar producer. But you can see down here it says 51 businesses. There's 51 producers of vinegar, all based in Modena, all based in one town, that produce the traditional vinegar. And there are two levels of the DOP, and there's the GPI, which are the two types. The DOP is a very, very well controlled product. The GPI is still controlled more by the company themselves, but the consortium has an overriding control of that situation. So in each of these situations, what we see is the consortium is a consolidated organisation made up of a number of smaller businesses, all within a specific sector. And that organisation, that consortium, will look after the interests of that sector by creating the standards, by protecting the standards. That means that those businesses are protected because it stops people from imitating and mimicking the products, but also they'll have a kind of worldwide value in terms of they can increase the brand name of the product. So we see that in those three cases: the traditional balsamic vinegar of Modena, Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, and we see it in DOCG Chianti Classico. Okay, there's another form of organisation which is used a lot in Italy, called the cooperative. And again, we have consortia in different countries. We also have cooperatives in different countries. But a cooperative is slightly different from a consortium because the cooperative is actually a separate firm. It's a firm owned, controlled and operated by a group of users for their own benefit. Each member contributes equity capital and shares in the control of the firm on the basis of one member, one vote principles, and not a proportion to his or her equity contribution. So it's a little bit different to a cooperative is different to a corporation in the fact that a corporation is, you usually have the amount of control over the business according to the amount of equity you own in that business. Now, cooperative, everybody has one vote. It doesn't matter how big your equity stake is in the business. Okay, some examples of cooperatives. Conad is a cooperative. It's a cooperative of local owners. Actually, that's quite interesting because it actually started as a consortium. The CON stands for consortium. It started off as although we look at Conad like as one kind of big kind of national business, it isn't. Conad is actually serving the needs of all of the local owners. The Conad is actually owned locally. It's not franchised. It is the local shopkeepers actually own the brand, and actually started off as a buying consortium. Lots of small shop owners got together and pooled their buying resource in order to get prices down from the raw material supplies. Imagine you're a single shop owner trying to get good prices on food raw materials will be very difficult because we have very big brands in the world and they were not interested in selling to small shops. So kind of joined all the smaller shopkeepers together so they could buy products at cheaper prices. And now Conad is more of a cooperative because basically it's a cooperative between those small shopkeepers, because now Conad is a brand, Conad is its own marketing, Conad is its own organisation, but it's still a bottom-up organisation in terms of the people that own and control the business are the shop owners themselves. So that's the cooperative. A co-op is another food retailer. That's actually a customer-led cooperative. It's the customers that own that particular cooperative. And so if you acquire a share, it's like a loyalty card. It gives you the access to discounts and everything else. Actually, Co-op is non-for-profit, so all profits are redistributed either back into the business in terms of growth of the business, prices, and in terms of the products, or distributed to charity. Quattro Madonne is a dairy in Emilia-Romagna, near Modena, and it's owned by farmers. I think there's 100 farmers that own the dairy. Yeah, about 120 farmers, something like that, own the dairy, and they've joined together as a cooperative in order to own the production. So the small milk farmer can then own the dairy. That dairy, in turn, is part of the Parmigiano Reggiano consortium. So we go from this global consortium selling Parmigiano Reggiano around the world. You go to Whole Foods or anywhere, you'll find Parmigiano Reggiano. Any good food shop, you'll find that products around the world as a well-marketed, as well-supported brand. It's actually owned by a number of dairies that in turn are owned by individual farmers. Yes, I think the control system is actually coming from many, many small farmers. The ownership is through small farmers. Again, because we have that kind of structure, it is a completely different shape to the market space by using the cooperative. The third C I want to talk about is confederation. That's an alliance, association, or league in which independent entities retain their distinction and sovereignty, but delegate some powers and rights to a central body, such as central or federal government, which remains subordinate to the entities, also called confederacy, also federation. Okay. A confederation I want to talk about is one called Confindustria. This is one that is based in Italy, and the key role of Confindustria is actually to negotiate with unions. So it acts as an employers association. It's not a government body. All the companies pay to be members of Confindustria. but it also arranges trade agreements and also arranges lobbying. And this is really important for our family businesses in Italy. Firstly, the trade agreements, because all those things we've just spoken about, the consortia, the cooperatives, have to be set up by an independent body, and that becomes the job of Confindustria. There is also a separate thing, which is the lobbying of government. So we're probably used to lobbying of government by big business in the US and in the UK, but in Italy, Confindustria speaks regularly to government to represent the interests of its clients, and therefore, in politics and in government regulation, there's a much more balanced playing field towards smaller family businesses, and it's not all tilted towards larger corporations. So again, this changes the shape of the market space. So these three C's we've just mentioned about, Confindustria, cooperatives, and consortia, help us to understand exactly why the Italian business world is a little bit different, and why family business is better supported in the Italian context. Okay, I'm going to talk about clusters next. Now, we've already discussed clusters, I think, a couple of times. We spoke about the idea of clusters. I'll kind of show you some clusters. I'm going to flick to, probably in a separate video, I'll click into Google Maps and we'll have a look in Scandicci, and then we'll look at Santa Croce Solano, and then we'll look at Pistoia, and eventually look at Lucca, to look at the different clusters. But as just before we do that, let's just discuss clusters in general. I think we discussed some of the advantages before, that we basically have these different businesses that all join together, that they can operate as one, that they can find the resources better because they're part of the clusters. I'll just go through some examples that, as I said, because when we were discussing, I think, horizontal relationships in the supply chain class, we discussed clusters. So if you want to just refresh yourself on that, go back to the class on supply chain. Okay, I'll end this video and go on to the next one.